Don't go when answered. Hit him where it hurts. Don't go and answer. The enemy's recalibrating.
Good morning everyone, kind of late, but I finally get myself to showcase a trigger team. We already theorized about the possibility of this team back then, and I finally have an idea how to make these teams work. So first, let's talk about Trigger's value in this team. First, as a stunner, she can make it possible to give a 5 stun rotation on Typhon, which normally we only get 4 stun. Then, as an off-field stunner, Trigger gives Yanagi a lot more on-field time. This is important because Yanagi's primary damage comes from her polarity disorder. With this, she can actively generate energy more on-field. We could also do a 5-stun rotation with Chingy on Typhon, but there might be some energy problem on Yanagi because of Chingy's fill time. And third, Death Threat stacking with Nicole. Although this is limited to her signature level engine. This is the same situation as with M1 Chingy and Nicole. I kinda don't like how the direction of Death Threat in ZZ is going for now. They give us Nicole, a free agent with the highest defense threat, but if you want to get a higher death threat stacking, all the option is locked on a limited cost. So I should be honest, without trigger signature, her support capability will only be the stun multiplier increase. Still, the team's damage output will be noticeably lower. That is mostly because anomaly dilution. Because of Trigger's non-optimal off-field anomaly application, at least 10 to 20% of the electric anomaly meter will be filled by Trigger, and the shock anomaly damage and disorder damage is averaged between Yanagi's and Trigger. This will make the disorder damage not optimal for the most part. You could compensate this by building Trigger on AP, but she is designed to scale with crit rate to perform her dazing best, and her off-field damage is okay with crit, so I would still build her on crit rate. So how does Trigger compare to Rina in this team? In my opinion, Rina would still be better in place of Trigger on this slot for Typhon, as Rina's support capability on Yanagi is actually higher, and we can do a rotation where Rina Electric Anomaly doesn't dilute Yanagi's disorder damage. But compared between this team, against UCC, Trigger would perform better, as Trigger gives more stun window on UCC, and Rina team can't really do that. And while we're talking about teams comparison, what about Yanagi Trigger Rina? In my opinion, Mono Electric is not good if your Yanagi is below M2. This is because in Mono Electric, Yanagi damage become more reliant on her polarity disorders, so her damage output is bottlenecked by her energy. But even if your Yanagi is high Mindscape, I would still prefer Nicole over Rina. Without Nicole, you are missing out on a huge electric disorder damage. So really, the one that is irreplaceable for Yanagi here is Nicole. Before we talk about rotations, let's review the builds. Yanagi is on her standard Chaos Chess build with as much AP and attack substats, and remember to not use Pen Ratio 5 as it clashes with defense threat on Nicole and Trigger. And she will use attack D6 because she is the hyper carry. Trigger and Nicole will be on Astral and Swing Jazz support combo. To piece Phaeton and ERD6 is important on Nicole so that she can trigger Electric Disorder in the rotation on time. We don't really need impact on Trigger as Typhon stun itself. You might even find you really don't want to stun Typhon too fast, so I'm using full crit build on Trigger. Don't worry too much about their stats. You may find better outcome by building Trigger and Nicole on crit, but the return on investment on their build is going to be minuscule compared to Yanagi's damage in the team. So let's break down the run. Just like every Typhon boss fight rotation, we can divide the fight into Resource Gathering Phase, Defensive Assist, Stun Window, the Damage Burst, and After Burst, repeating into Resource Gathering Phase again. This rotation works best with buffs that gives free decibels, because fast stun will require fast decibels generation too. Without this buff, Yanagi would not be able to get 5 ultimate inside 5 stun on time. Even with this buff still, Nicole ultimate is not always on time, as you will see in the rotation breakdown. First off, start with charging Trigger's Purge, then to Yanagi. In the resource gathering phase, get as much dodge counter and basic with Yanagi for energy, and try to get as high of electric anomaly, but don't trigger the shock yet so to not interrupt Typhon tempo. Onto the defensive assist, first go to Trigger. You can EXP Trigger here to make her enter the coordinated support state for efficient purge usage, but sometimes I choose to not do it so Typhon don't get stunned too fast. It would be bad for the burst timing. Then to Nicole. Before going to Yanagi, hold on her EX as long as possible, then Yanagi defensive assist and shock Typhon with the follow-up. Now we enter the burst rotation. There are two variations of burst rotation that I showcase in this video. Rotation A has higher damage but harder to execute. There are risks Nicole corruption will be late to trigger inside the stun. And rotation B that I find more easier and consistent to perform, although a bit lower damage. In the showcase, I did rotation A on the first stun window and rotation B on the rest of the fight, so technically this team could deal more damage. But it does need more practice to execute rotation A every time. First, let's look at rotation A. This rotation performs best when Typhon is still not stunned during Yanagi's follow-up. Yanagi's follow-up triggered the first shock. After the follow-up, go to Yanagi's EX. It's best when her EX hits Typhon inside the stun for the stun multiplier. With manual chain, we don't trigger the chain just yet. Instead, basic for more energy and trigger chain at basic 5. Now we double chain with Nicole. This is the same on both variations of the rotation. We do this to generate testables for Nicole as she really needs it in the rotation, to get a smudged ether anomaly on Typhon, and to stack Astral Voice on Yanagi with a quick assist. After the second Nicole chain, Yanagi triggered the second shock and EX. Swap cancel on Yanagi EX to Nicole hold EX. The holding here is important because we want the ether anomaly to be maxed out the next time Nicole swap back in. Quick assist to Yanagi's ultimate, trigger the third shock, EX one more time, and at the moment the polarity hit, swap back to Nicole ultimate, trigger the shock disorder. It's important to swap back when the polarity hit here, because if we go to Nicole before the polarity hit the shock, it will instead hit the corruption, which will give slower damage. So let's review the number. We start off low because this is our first anomaly trigger, so the buff from Graceling Mastery isn't active yet. Then we get higher disorder at second shock, and in the third shock that is mainly built by ultimate, the distorted damage reached 2 million. As the Typhon boss mechanic, ultimate damage is buffed when it is impaired. Nicole then triggered the shock disorder with corruption on the third shock 2 seconds after the shock is triggered, giving us 4.5 million disorder damage. Remember, disorder damage is time dependent. This will be important later. Now the next stun window, we'll see the rotation B. From Yanagi shock on follow-up, EX and trigger chain, this is the part where it starts to differ. To Nicole double chain, at the moment on Yanagi's quick assist after the second chain, immediately ultimate. And same as before, after ultimate, EX and swap cancel to Nicole hold EX, quick assist to Yanagi, and basic a bit more to get one more EX. This might be a problem in a fast stun rotation where Yanagi energy for EX will be really tight, so it's best to get as much dodge counter during resource gathering phase. And go back to Nicole, and special to trigger shock disorder after the polarity hits. And the burst is done. Let's also review the numbers. Just like the previous rotation, Yanagi hits polarity disorder with 3 EX and 1 ultimate, but now we only trigger 2 shock instead of 3. The damage from Yanagi polarity disorder between the rotations should averagely be the same. What's making the difference on the damage output between these two rotations is from the shock disorder triggered by Nicole. In rotation B, we did not renew the shock onto the third one, making Nicole trigger a 7-second shock disorder. While compared on the rotation A, Nicole triggered a 2-second shock disorder because we get to renew the shock before the corruption hits. A difference of 5 seconds in the disorder trigger gives us a huge amount of damage difference. But with this visualization, you may also see the difficulty in performing this rotation. Rotation A needs us to trigger 4 anomaly proc, while rotation B needs only 3 anomaly proc, which means rotation A requires a tighter time frame and faster hand. And an important part to point out is how Yanagi EX varies between stun window. Yanagi can only fit 2 EX at the third stun is a damage loss on the rotation, and we even barely able to kill Typhon by scraping the bottom of the energy barrel to get 1 more EX at the last second. One reason why Yanagi's energy generation lag here is because Nicole ultimate is also lag behind. At the first stun, we use it to trigger corruption, at the second stun, we use it to cancel Typhon jump, at the third stun, we didn't get to use it at all, and the energy generation effect from the Nicole ultimate is really important for Yanagi. With tighter management on energy, you might be able to get 1 more EX for Yanagi, and maybe there is a better rotation to get 5 ultimate from Nicole, so there might be some room for improvement. After the burst rotation is done, we go back to resource gathering phase. You should cancel Typhon jump by shock or by ultimate, and recharge trigger purge if needed. Though I don't really like using triggers ultimate on Typhon, because it makes Typhon stun too fast and reduce the burst time. So one improvement that I could think here, maybe it's better to use triggers ultimate inside stun for a bit more damage. It would be really sick if I use triggers ultimate to one-shot Typhon at the last moment, but I can settle with this Yanagi wipeout. And that's the breakdown. Once again, showing how well Nicole and Yanagi work together. I finally catch up to showcase Trigger, even though it's really late. Not really the type of guy to always showcase agents early. I'll try to get Hugo showcase soon after this. As always, I hope this video helps you and see you next time.